The body of the young communist hangs from the ceiling hook where working families hang their Sunday clothes. Willi Lehmann stands in the cramped apartment, his breath visible in the cold morning air, and forces himself to look at the boy's face. 17, maybe 18. The neck is bent at an angle that does not belong on a living creature. The fingernails are gone. Someone took them before they strung him up to make it look like suicide. Lehmann has been in the political police for 12 years. He has seen what men do to other men when the uniforms come off and the questions stop working. But this is different. This is Berlin. This is 1929. This is supposed to be civilization. His colleague, a fat man named Stuckart, who smells of sausage and cheap wine, nudges the body with his pencil. The boy swings slightly. Stuckart laughs. Not a loud laugh. A laugh like a man watching a clumsy dog. Lehmann feels something cold move through his chest and settle in his stomach. The dead boy's mother sits on a wooden chair in the corner. She does not cry. She stares at her son's shoes. They are good shoes. The boy must have saved for months. Stuckart asks her questions she cannot answer. Where did he meet the communists? Who were his friends? Did he have papers? She says nothing. Her hands are folded in her lap like she is waiting for church to start. Lehmann walks past her to examine the body closer. Up close, the damage is worse. The boy's teeth are broken. His ears are torn. They wanted information before they killed him. Whether they got it, Lehmann cannot tell. He touches the boy's hand. It is cold, hard, like meat from an icebox. The boy had calluses on his palms. He worked with his hands. He was someone's son. He was someone who woke up this morning thinking he had a future. Stuckart finishes his notes and tells Lehmann to file it as suicide by hanging. Political agitator, depressed over Germany's future, took his own life. Case closed. Stuckart lights a cigarette while standing under the hanging boy, blows smoke up at the body, and walks out. Lehmann stays. He looks at the mother. She looks at the shoes. Neither of them speaks. In the silence, Lehmann hears the sound of his own heartbeat, slow and steady, like a clock counting down to something he cannot name. He takes money from his wallet, 40 marks, half his weekly salary. He places it on the table next to the mother's elbow. She does not acknowledge it. He does not expect her to. He leaves the apartment and walks down 4 flights of stairs. The building smells of boiled cabbage and unwashed bodies and something else. Something metallic that might be blood or might be fear. On the street, Berlin is alive. Trams clatter past. Women in fashionable hats walk with men in suits. A newspaper vendor shouts about the stock market in America. Collapse. Disaster. No one looks up at the windows where a dead boy hangs among the Sunday clothes. Lehmann walks to the nearest bar. It is 9 in the morning. The bar is empty except for the owner who knows better than to ask questions. Lehmann drinks schnapps. It burns going down. He drinks another. The cold feeling in his chest does not go away. He realizes it is not cold at all. It is hot. It is rage. It is the first real feeling he has had in years. He has served this government for 12 years. He has arrested communists, monitored socialists, filed reports on union leaders, on priests, on teachers who say the wrong thing. He has done his job. He has been invisible. He has been reliable. And for what? So that men like Stuckart can laugh at dead children while their mothers sit in corners counting the holes in their sons' shoes. The bar door opens. A man enters. He is medium height, medium build, unremarkable in every way except for his eyes, which do not move like normal eyes. They scan the room, register Lehmann, register the empty bar, register the exits, all in less than a second. He orders tea. Tea, at 9 in the morning, in a working man's bar. Lehmann watches him. The man feels the watching and turns. Their eyes meet. The man smiles. Not a friendly smile. A smile that says, "I know something you do not know." He sits at Lehmann's table without asking. He speaks German with an accent Lehmann cannot place. He says his name is Franz. He says he works in trade. He says he has heard that Lehmann is a good man, a fair man, a man who sees things clearly. Lehmann says nothing. Franz talks about the economy, about the chaos, about the men who will soon fight for power in Germany, the Nazis, the communists, the army. He asks Lehmann which side he thinks will win. Lehmann says he does not care. Franz smiles again. He says that is good. Men who do not care are the most useful men of all. He slides an envelope across the table. Inside is money. More money than Lehmann makes in 3 months. Franz says he represents people who value information. Small information. Nothing that would hurt Germany. Just information about certain people, certain groups, certain plans. In return, they offer friendship. And more money. And doctors for Lehmann's kidneys, which Franz somehow knows are failing. Lehmann should refuse. He should arrest this man. He should walk out and forget this conversation. Instead, he thinks of the boy hanging from the ceiling. He thinks of the mother's folded hands. He thinks of Stuckert's laugh. He thinks of 12 years of service to a government that kills children and calls it suicide. He takes the envelope. Franz stands. He says someone will be in touch. He says Lehmann has made the right choice. He says Germany will thank him one day, though not in the way Germany expects. He leaves. Lehmann sits alone with the envelope in his pocket. The schnapps is warm now, flat, useless. He orders another. The bar owner brings it without comment. Through the window, Lehmann watches Berlin move past. Trams. Women. Men in suits. A boy selling newspapers. Normal life. Ordinary life. The life he has lived for 45 years, without question. He finishes his drink. He stands. He walks out into the street. The envelope presses against his thigh like a second heartbeat. He does not know where he is walking. He does not care. For the first time in 12 years, he has made a choice that was not given to him by someone else. The choice was wrong. It was illegal. It was treason. It felt like the first breath of air after drowning. He walks until he reaches his apartment. Margaret is not home. He sits at the kitchen table and opens the envelope. The money is real. German marks, used, untraceable. He counts it twice. It is enough to pay their debts. Enough to see a doctor. Enough to buy Margaret the coat she has needed for 2 winters. He puts the money back in the envelope. He hides it behind a loose board in the kitchen. He sits in the dark and waits for his wife to come home. He listens to his heartbeat. It is still slow, still steady, still counting down to something he cannot name. In the morning, he will go back to work. He will file reports. He will attend briefings. He will shake Stuckert's hand. He will be the same invisible, reliable Willi Lehmann he has always been. But something has changed. Something has cracked open inside him. The boy hanging from the ceiling hook will hang there forever, swinging slightly, reminding Lehmann what men do to other men when no one is watching. And Lehmann will watch. He will watch for the people who pay him. He will watch, and he will remember. And he will wait for the day when the watching becomes something else. The year is 1929. Willi Lehmann has just died and been reborn in the same moment. He does not know it yet, but the body on the hook knows. The mother, with folded hands, knows. And somewhere in Berlin, a man named Franz is making notes in a small book, adding another name to a list of men who will change the course of history without ever intending to. The year is 1933. 4 years have passed since the boy hanging from the ceiling. 4 years since Lehmann took the envelope. 4 years of small meetings in train stations, of documents passed in public bathrooms, of information that seemed harmless, flowing east to people whose names he does not know and does not ask. Berlin has changed. The streets that once belonged to trams and fashionable women now belong to brown shirts. Parades every Sunday, torchlight every night. The swastika hangs from every government building. Men who were nobodies a year ago now wear uniforms and carry guns and speak with authority they did not earn. Hitler is chancellor. The Reichstag burns. Communists are dragged from their beds and never seen again. Lehmann watches it all from his desk in the political police. He watches and he files reports and he says nothing. His colleagues are changing too. The old-timers, the professionals who joined under the Kaiser, are being pushed out, replaced by young men who joined the party before it was popular, who carry the arrogance of believers. Stuckert is gone, retired early, scared of what is coming. His replacement is a boy named Hauser, 23 years old, SS uniform, glasses that make his eyes look like fish behind glass. He calls Lehmann old man and means it as an insult. The political police is being absorbed into something new. The Gestapo, secret state police, no oversight, no courts, no appeals. Lehmann receives new papers, a new badge, a new title. He is now officially a man whose job is to find enemies of the state and deliver them to places where questions are asked with tools. His controller, a patient man who has replaced Franz, meets him in a cemetery. Winter. Snow on the graves. The controller wears black, blends with the stones. He tells Lehmann that Moscow is pleased. The information has been good. But now the game changes. Lehmann must go deeper. He must join the party. He must become one of them. Lehmann says nothing for a long time. The wind moves through the cemetery, cold enough to burn. He thinks about what it means to wear that pin, to swear that oath, to call that man his Führer. He thinks about the boy on the hook. He thinks about the mother's folded hands. He thinks about Hauser's fish eyes and what they will do to men like him if they ever find out. He says yes. The party application takes months, background checks, interviews, questions about his grandmother, his grandfather, his parents' politics going back decades. Lehmann answers calmly. His file is clean. 12 years of service. No communist sympathies. No Jewish ancestors. A model candidate. The old-timers are being purged, but the professionals are still needed. Someone has to run the files. Someone has to know how the system works. In April 1933, Willi Lehmann receives his party number. He attends the induction ceremony in a hall filled with men in brown shirts. They raise their arms together. They scream Heil together. Their voices merge into one voice, loud enough to shake the windows. Lehmann screams with them. His arm rises with theirs. His voice joins theirs. Inside, he is counting the exits. Inside, he is memorizing faces. Inside, he is already building the reports he will send to the man in the cemetery. The first months in the Gestapo are chaos. The new organization is swallowing old ones, fighting for territory with the SS, with the SD, with military intelligence. No one knows who is in charge. No one knows who to trust. Lehmann watches and learns. He sees how power really works, not through laws or orders, through files, through knowledge, through knowing what other men want to hide. He is assigned to Section 4, the counterintelligence unit responsible for protecting German industry from foreign spies. His job is to review reports of espionage, to identify weaknesses, to recommend arrests. In practice, his job is to read everything: industrial secrets, military contracts, the names of foreign agents operating in Berlin, the names of German citizens who meet with them. The information flows through his hands like water. He takes small amounts at first. Nothing that would be missed. Nothing that would trigger an audit. Names, dates, locations. He passes them to the man in the cemetery during walks in the Tiergarten, during brief meetings in crowded cafes, during moments when the city's attention is elsewhere. In the summer of 1933, Lehmann is promoted, not because he is a Nazi, because he is good, because he notices things others miss, because he never complains, never draws attention, never makes waves. His new office has a window. It looks out on a courtyard where prisoners are sometimes brought for intensive questioning. Lehmann can hear the sounds through the glass. He learns to work through them. He learns to read files while men scream below. He learns to separate his hands from his heart. His controller gives him a new name. From now on, in messages to Moscow, he is Starshina, the sergeant major, a working man's rank, a name that means nothing and everything. Lehmann accepts it without comment. Names are dangerous. The fewer he carries, the safer he is. At night, he goes home to Margaret. She asks no questions. She has learned not to. She sees the uniform in the closet, the party pin on his jacket, the way he flinches at sudden sounds. She cooks his meals. She mends his clothes. She does not ask where the money comes from, the extra money that pays for doctors, for better food, for the small luxuries that make life bearable. She does not want to know. One night in December, Lehmann cannot sleep. He stands at the window of his apartment and watches the city below. Christmas lights in some windows, swastikas in others. A patrol of SS men walks past, their boots loud on the frozen street. They are young. They are healthy. They believe with the purity of those who have never doubted. Lehmann watches them disappear into the dark and wonders how many of them he will help kill before this is over. He thinks about the man in the cemetery, about Moscow, about the cause he supposedly serves. He has never been a communist. He has never believed in revolution. He believed in a boy on a hook and a mother's folded hands. He believed that the men who did that should not win. That was enough then. Now he is not sure what he believes. In the morning he puts on his uniform. He pins the party badge to his lapel. He goes to work. He reads files. He listens to screams. He memorizes names. He is Starshina. He is Obersturmführer Lehmann. He is two men in one body, and both of them are tired, and both of them are afraid, and both of them know that the hardest years are still ahead. The year is 1933. The Nazis have won. Willi Lehmann has joined them, and somewhere in Moscow a file with his name grows thicker, and the men who read it do not know his face, do not know his voice, do not know that every night he stands at his window and wonders if the man he used to be is already dead. The year is 1936. 3 years inside the Gestapo. 3 years of Heil Hitler and files and screams through the window. 3 years of waking up every morning and remembering which face to wear. Lehmann has been transferred again. He now works in the department responsible for counterintelligence in military production. His desk sits in a room with 12 other men, but his access reaches far beyond those walls. He handles reports on aircraft development, on tank production, on chemical weapons research. He knows which factories are building what. He knows which engineers have weaknesses. He knows which foreign agents the Gestapo is watching and which they have missed. His value to Moscow has multiplied 100 times. His new controller is a woman. She meets him in a cinema during a matinee. The film is something light, a comedy, the kind of thing Berliners watch to forget. She sits 2 rows behind him. When the lights go down, she moves to the seat beside him. She smells of cheap soap and cigarettes. Her voice is low, calm, professional. She gives him instructions, new protocols, new dead drops. She tells him Moscow is impressed. They want more. They want everything. Lehmann tells her about the Enigma machine, not the military version, not yet, but the commercial model that the Navy is testing. He tells her about the engineers working on it, the rooms where they meet, the security failures he has observed. She listens without moving. When he finishes, she stands and walks out. She does not look back. He watches the rest of the film alone, laughing when others laugh, a man among men, invisible. At work, a new threat appears. His name is Kriminalrat Müller. Not Heinrich Müller, the famous one, the one who will one day run the entire Gestapo. A different Müller, smaller, meaner, a man with the face of a schoolteacher and the instincts of a wolf. He has been assigned to review security protocols. His job is to find leaks. His job is to find people like Lehmann. Müller interviews everyone in the department. He asks about habits, about hobbies, about friends outside work. He asks about politics, about loyalty, about the party. Lehmann answers as he always answers. Calm, bored, a little tired. The perfect civil servant. The man who has been here forever, and will be here forever and has no secrets because he has no life. Müller watches him with eyes that miss nothing. He thanks Lehmann and sends him out. Lehmann feels the gaze on his back all the way to his desk. That night he does not sleep. He lies in bed next to Margaret, who breathes softly, peacefully, unaware. He stares at the ceiling and runs through every meeting, every dead drop, every word he has spoken to every controller. He finds no mistakes. He finds no holes. But Müller's eyes were the eyes of a man who suspects something, even if he does not yet know what. The next day, Lehmann makes a decision. He will do what he has always done. He will be the most reliable man in the department. He will work late. He will volunteer for extra duties. He will make himself indispensable. Men like Müller look for anomalies. Lehmann will be so normal, so boring, so predictable that Müller's eyes will slide off him like water off stone. He works until midnight, for 3 weeks straight. He takes on the files no one else wants. He solves problems that have sat on desks for months. His colleagues begin to complain that he makes them look bad. His superiors begin to notice his name on reports. Müller calls him in for a second interview. This time the questions are softer. This time Müller seems almost friendly. He asks about Lehmann's health, his wife, his plans for the future. Lehmann answers with the same calm boredom. At the end, Müller shakes his hand and tells him to keep up the good work. Lehmann knows he is not safe. He knows he will never be safe. But he has passed a test, and passing tests is what he does best. The information he sends to Moscow grows more valuable. In the spring of 1936, he transmits details about the new Panzer III tank, still in development, still secret. He sends names of German agents operating in Czechoslovakia. He sends reports on the chemical weapons program that violates every treaty Germany has signed. The woman in the cinema accepts each delivery with the same calm professionalism. She never praises him. She never thanks him. She simply takes the information and disappears. In June, Lehmann's world shifts again. He is called to a meeting in a building he has never entered. Inside, men in uniforms he has never seen discuss plans he was never meant to hear. The subject is Spain. Civil war has broken out. Germany is choosing sides. The meeting is about how to support Franco without provoking the rest of Europe. Lehmann sits in the corner, taking notes, invisible, reliable. He is the only man in the room without a high rank. He is there because someone needs to write things down. He writes everything: names, dates, shipments, numbers. He writes until his hand cramps and his eyes burn. When the meeting ends, he walks out with the notes in his briefcase. No one stops him. No one searches him. He is Obersturmführer Lehmann, the old man, the professional, the one who has been here forever and will be here forever. That night, he meets the woman in a park. He gives her the notes. She reads them under a streetlight, her face expressionless. When she finishes, she looks at him for a long moment. She says one word: good. Then she walks away, and the notes go with her. And somewhere in Moscow, men will read them and make decisions that will kill other men in a country Lehmann has never seen. In August, Müller is transferred. No explanation, no goodbye. One day he is there, and the next day his desk is empty, and no one mentions his name. Lehmann hears through whispers that Müller made enemies in the SS, that he asked too many questions about the wrong people, that he is now in a labor camp, or dead, or lucky to be alive in a job that cleans toilets in some provincial town. Lehmann feels nothing. No relief, no satisfaction. Just the cold awareness that the system that almost caught him has eaten someone else instead. The system is always hungry. The system never stops eating. The only way to survive is to be too boring to digest. At home, Margaret is sick. The doctors cannot agree on what it is. Her lungs, they think, or her heart, or just age and worry and the weight of living in a city that grows darker every year. Lehmann sits by her bed at night and holds her hand. She sleeps, and he watches, and he thinks about the boy on the hook, the mother with folded hands, the men who screamed in the courtyard, the files that pass through his desk like water through a sieve. He thinks about the man he used to be, the man who took an envelope in a bar because he was angry and tired and sick of watching evil win. That man is still here somewhere, buried under uniforms and party pins and years of pretending, but still here, still watching, still waiting. In December, the woman gives him a Christmas gift. Not a real gift, a message. Moscow wants him to know that his work has saved lives. Soviet lives. Lives he will never see, in a country he will never visit. Fighting a war that has not yet started. The message is short, professional. But Lehmann reads it 3 times, and for the first time in years, something warm moves through his chest. He goes home to Margaret. She is worse now, bedridden, pale. She smiles when he enters, a thin smile that costs her something. He sits beside her and tells her about his day. Not the truth, the other truth, the boring truth about files and meetings and colleagues who complain. She listens because she loves him. He talks because he loves her. They are two people holding on to each other in a city that wants to swallow them both. That night, he stands at the window again. The city is dark. Blackout drills have started. War is coming. Everyone knows it. The newspapers scream about Lebensraum, about destiny, about enemies at the gates. Lehmann watches the empty streets and thinks about the woman in the cinema, the notes in the park, the lives he has saved and the lives he will save. He thinks about Miller's eyes, about Hauser's fish eyes, about all the men who watch and suspect and wait for him to make a mistake. He has not made one yet. He will not make one tomorrow. But the wolves are always hungry. The wolves are always watching. And Lehmann knows, with the certainty of a man who has spent his life reading files, that one day the wolves will catch up. The year is 1936. War is 3 years away. Willi Lehmann is deeper in the lair than he ever imagined possible. And somewhere in the darkness, the wolves are beginning to circle. The year is 1937. The wolves are not just circling anymore. They are hunting. Lehmann sits in his office on a Tuesday morning when the door opens, and a man walks in without knocking. The man is tall, blond, young enough to be Lehmann's son. His uniform is black, SS. His face is the face of someone who has never doubted anything in his life. He introduces himself as Untersturmführer Klausenberg. He has been assigned to observe the department, to learn, to report directly to Gruppenführer Heydrich's office. Lehmann's hand does not shake. His face does not change. Inside, something cold and sharp twists through his gut. Heydrich, the man with the iron heart, the man who misses nothing, the man who has built an empire on finding enemies and erasing them. Klausenberg takes the desk across from Lehmann. He is polite, professional. He asks questions about procedures, about files, about how things work. Lehmann answers with the patience of a man who has explained the same things 1,000 times. Klausenberg takes notes. His handwriting is neat. His eyes are pale blue and empty as winter sky. For 3 weeks, Klausenberg watches everything. He watches who comes and goes. He watches who talks to whom. He watches Lehmann most of all. Not obviously. Not in a way anyone else would notice. But Lehmann notices. Lehmann has spent years learning to notice being watched. At night he cannot sleep. Margaret is worse now. The doctors have stopped coming. There is nothing more they can do. She lies in their bed, growing thinner, growing paler, growing further away each day. Lehmann sits beside her and holds her hand, and thinks about Klausenberg's empty eyes and wonders if this is how it ends. In April, the woman meets him in a church, not a Catholic church, a small Protestant one on the edge of the city where no one goes. She sits in a pew near the back. He sits 2 rows ahead. The church is empty, cold, smelling of dust and old incense. She speaks without moving her lips. She tells him that Moscow has received reports from other sources. Reports that something is coming. Something big. Something that will change everything. She tells him that Heydrich's office is planning an operation. A provocation. Something designed to justify war. She tells him to find out what it is. Lehmann leaves the church without looking back. He walks through streets filled with spring sunshine, with families pushing prams, with couples holding hands. Normal life. Ordinary life. The life he has not lived for years and will never live again. At work, he begins to search. It is dangerous. Klausenberg's eyes are everywhere. Lehmann must be careful, must be slow, must be the boring old man who files papers and goes home. He stays late when Klausenberg leaves. He arrives early when Klausenberg is not yet there. He reads files that cross his desk and files that do not. Files he has no business touching. Files that could get him shot if anyone notices. In May he finds it. The file is thin, no names, no dates, just a location and a list of items. Uniforms, Polish military uniforms, Polish weapons, Polish documents. The location is the German border town of Gliwice. The date is not specified. But Lehmann reads the file and understands. They are going to fake a Polish attack on a German radio station. They are going to use prisoners from concentration camps, dress them in Polish uniforms, kill them, and leave them as proof. They are going to call it aggression. They are going to use it to justify war. Lehmann sits at his desk with the file open in front of him. His hands are steady. His breathing is calm. Inside, something is screaming. War. Not next year. Not someday. Now. Soon. Weeks. Days. He holds proof in his hands that millions will die, that Europe will burn, that everything he has tried to prevent is about to happen. He copies the information. Not the whole file. Just enough. Just the key details. He hides the copy in his shoe. He returns the file to its place. He works through the rest of the day like nothing has happened. He answers questions. He drinks coffee. He nods at Klausenberg. He is the boring old man. The invisible man. The man no one notices. That night, he meets the woman in a cemetery. The same cemetery where his first controller gave him orders years ago. Different graves. Different season. Same cold. He gives her the information. She reads it by moonlight. When she finishes, she looks at him for a long moment. Her face is unreadable. But something in her eyes shifts. Something that might be fear or might be respect or might be both. She tells him, "This will go to Moscow tonight." She tells him he has done something important. She tells him to be careful, more careful than ever before, because if Heydrich's office finds a leak now, they will tear the entire organization apart until they find it. She leaves. Lehmann stays among the graves. He thinks about the men who will die in Gliwice. Prisoners. Innocent men dressed in uniforms they did not choose, killed to start a war they did not want. He thinks about the millions who will follow them. The soldiers. The civilians. The children. He thinks about the boy on the hook, the mother with folded hands, the screams through his office window. He has just done his job. He has just sent information east. He has just done what he has done for 8 years. But this time feels different. This time he has held the future in his hands and passed it to someone else. What they do with it is not his choice, but he knows, with the certainty of a man who has seen too much, that they will not stop what is coming. No one can stop what is coming. The best they can do is know it is coming. The best they can do is prepare. In June, Margaret dies. She dies on a Thursday afternoon. Lehmann is at work when it happens. A neighbor finds her and sends word. By the time Lehmann reaches home, she is cold. Her face is peaceful. Her hands are folded on her chest like she fell asleep waiting for him. He sits beside her for hours. He does not cry. He cannot cry. Something inside him has frozen solid and may never thaw. He buries her in a cemetery on the edge of the city. Not the one where he meets his controllers. A different one, a quiet one. The funeral is small, a few neighbors, a few colleagues from work. Klausenberg comes, standing in the back, watching with those empty eyes. Lehmann speaks no eulogy. He stands at the grave and watches them lower her into the ground and thinks about nothing at all. Afterward, he goes home to an empty apartment. Her smell is still in the pillows. Her brush is still on the dresser. Her coat still hangs by the door. He sits in the dark and listens to the silence and feels the frozen thing inside him grow larger. In August, the woman meets him one last time. She is being transferred, she says. Replaced. A new controller will come. She tells him to trust no one completely. She tells him the work continues. She tells him that Moscow remembers what he did about Gleiwitz, that it mattered, that he mattered. She shakes his hand. A normal handshake, professional. Then she walks away, and he never sees her again. On September 1st, 1939, Germany invades Poland. The Gleiwitz operation happens exactly as the file described. Prisoners in Polish uniforms, a fake attack, a manufactured excuse. Lehmann hears the news on the radio at work. His colleagues cheer. They raise their arms. They scream Heil Hitler. Lehmann raises his arm with them. He screams with them. Inside the frozen thing, something breaks. He thinks of Margaret. He thinks of the boy on the hook. He thinks of the mother with folded hands. He thinks of the woman in the cemetery, the church, the cinema. He thinks of 8 years of work, of risk, of pretending. And none of it stopped this. None of it saved anyone. The war is here. The killing has begun. And he is still here, still in uniform, still Heil Hitlering, still the most boring man in the Gestapo. That night, he walks through the streets of Berlin. The city is celebrating. Flags hang from every window. Soldiers kiss girls. Old men weep with joy. Lehmann walks among them, invisible, unnoticed, a ghost in his own life. He walks until he reaches the cemetery where Margaret is buried. He stands at her grave in the dark, and finally, he cries. The year is 1939. The war has begun. Willi Lehmann is alone in the world. And the wolves are still watching, still waiting, still hungry for the moment when he makes a mistake. The year is 1941. 2 years of war. 2 years of victories that feel like avalanches. Poland, France, Denmark, Norway, the Low Countries. One after another they fall. The Wehrmacht marches through Europe like death through a hospital. Berlin celebrates every triumph. Flags, parades, speeches. The radio plays marching songs from morning until night. Lehmann listens to the news in his empty apartment. Margaret has been gone for 2 years. He has not moved her things. Her brush still sits on the dresser. Her coat still hangs by the door. He cannot bring himself to touch them. They are the only proof that he was once a man who loved someone. His work has changed. The war has transformed the Gestapo into something larger, hungrier, more efficient. Lehmann now works in the section responsible for counterintelligence in weapons development. His desk handles reports on rockets, on jets, on chemical weapons that could kill entire cities. The information that passes through his hands is worth more than gold. It is worth more than lives. In January, a new controller finds him. A man this time. Young, nervous. He meets Lehmann in a bombed-out building near the Anhalter Bahnhof. The roof is gone. Snow falls on them while they talk. The young man's hands shake. He has never done this before. Lehmann watches him with something like pity. This boy will not last. He is too frightened. Fear has a smell. The Gestapo trains dogs to smell it. Lehmann gives him the information he has collected. Details about the V-2 rocket program. The names of scientists working at Peenemünde. The problems they are having with guidance systems. The young man writes it down, his handwriting shaky, his eyes darting at every sound. Lehmann wants to tell him to breathe, to slow down, to be invisible. He says nothing. It is not his job to train controllers. It is his job to deliver information and survive. The young man leaves. Lehmann watches him go and knows he will never see him again. Either the boy will be pulled out, or he will be caught. Either way, Lehmann will need a new contact soon. In March, the young man disappears. Lehmann hears through channels that a suspected spy was arrested near the Lehrter Bahnhof. The description matches. Lehmann waits for the knock on his door. Days pass. Weeks. No knock. The boy either talked or did not talk. Either way, he did not know Lehmann's real name. He did not know Lehmann's address. He knew only a face and a dead drop and a code phrase. The system worked. The insulation held. But now Lehmann has no controller. No way to send information. No way to know if Moscow even remembers he exists. He continues working. He continues reading files. He continues memorizing names and dates and numbers. He stores the information in his head, in his apartment, in hiding places only he knows. He waits for contact that does not come. In June, the war expands. Operation Barbarossa. Germany invades the Soviet Union. Lehmann learns about it before it happens. He reads the plans and files that cross his desk. Hundreds of divisions, thousands of tanks, millions of men. The goal is annihilation. Not victory. Annihilation. The files use words like elimination and extermination. They talk about commissars, about Jews, about anyone who might resist. The plans are not for conquest. They are for murder. Lehmann has no one to tell, no controller, no dead drop, no way to send the most important information of his life to the people who need it most. He sits at his desk with the invasion plans in front of him and feels something he has not felt in years. Helplessness. Pure, absolute helplessness. The invasion begins on June 22nd. 3 million soldiers cross the border. The newsreels show burning villages, columns of prisoners, smiling German soldiers waving from tanks. Berlin celebrates again. Lehmann watches the footage in a cinema and feels nothing. The frozen thing inside him has grown so large it has swallowed everything else. In July, he hears rumors, whispers in the corridors. The Soviets knew. They were prepared. Not completely, not enough, but more than they should have been. Someone warned them. Someone gave them information about the invasion. The Gestapo is searching for the leak. They are pulling files, interviewing officers, following every thread. Lehmann listens to the whispers and feels something cold move through him. The information he could not send was sent by someone else, another spy, another source. He is not alone. He has never been alone. There are others like him, scattered through the system, invisible, waiting, working. He does not know who they are. He does not want to know. Knowing is dangerous. Knowing is how people die. In August, a new controller finds him, not a young man this time, a woman again, older, harder, the kind of woman who has seen things and done things and will not break no matter what they do to her. She meets him in a bomb shelter during an air raid. The building shakes. Dust falls from the ceiling. Children cry in the corner. She sits next to him like a stranger seeking comfort, and speaks without moving her lips. She tells him Moscow knows about the gap in contact. She tells him the information he collected before the invasion was valuable, even if it arrived too late. She tells him the work continues. She tells him the war will last years, and he must be patient, and he must survive. Lehmann tells her about Peenemünde, about the rockets, about the chemical weapons, about the jet fighters that could change the war. She listens without reacting. When the all-clear sounds, she stands and walks out. She does not look back. She does not say goodbye. Lehmann returns to his apartment, through streets filled with rubble. The air raids are getting worse. The British come at night. The Americans come during the day. Berlin is slowly being ground to dust. Lehmann walks past burning buildings, past rescue workers pulling bodies from collapsed cellars, past children sitting on piles of bricks with blank faces. He thinks about Margaret. He is glad she did not live to see this. In September, he is promoted again. His expertise is too valuable to ignore. He now has access to the highest levels of weapons development. He attends meetings where generals argue about resources, about priorities, about which wonder weapon will save Germany from defeat. They do not know they are already defeated. They do not know that the war turned months ago in the snow outside Moscow, in the streets of Stalingrad, in the hearts of men who will never stop fighting. They still believe in miracles. Lehmann believes in nothing. He gives the woman everything. Rocket guidance systems, jet engine designs, chemical weapon formulas, the names of every scientist, every engineer, every officer involved. The information flows through her to Moscow and from Moscow to wherever it needs to go. He does not ask what they do with it. He does not want to know. Knowing is dangerous. Knowing is how people die. In December, the temperature drops. The coldest winter in decades. Soldiers freeze on the Eastern Front. Tanks will not start. Guns will not fire. Men write letters home that will never arrive. Lehmann reads reports from the front and feels nothing. The frozen thing inside him is perfectly at home in this weather. He walks to work through snow that reaches his knees. His kidneys hurt. The old problem. The doctors give him pills that do not help. He does not care. Pain is just sensation. Sensation is just information. Information is his job. On Christmas Eve, he sits alone in his apartment. He has not celebrated Christmas since Margaret died. He does not celebrate it now. He sits in the dark and listens to the wind and thinks about the boy on the hook, the mother with folded hands, the woman in the cinema, the young man who disappeared near the Lehrter Bahnhof. He thinks about all the people he has failed, and all the people he has helped, and all the people he will never know. Somewhere in Russia, German soldiers are freezing to death. Somewhere in Moscow, men are reading his reports. Somewhere in Berlin, other spies are doing what he does. Invisible, unnoticed, waiting for the moment when they make a mistake. Lehmann stands and walks to the window. The city is dark. Blackout curtains cover every window. No lights, no celebrations, just darkness and snow and the distant rumble of bombers heading east. He thinks about the year ahead. 1942. It will be worse than 1941. They always are. More death, more destruction, more information to pass to people he will never meet. He thinks about survival, not victory. Survival. Staying alive until this ends, however it ends. The year is 1941. The war is not even half over. Willi Lehmann is 57 years old. He is tired. He is sick. He is alone, and he is more valuable than he has ever been. The wolves are still watching. The work continues. The silence inside him grows deeper with every passing day. The year is 1942. The war has become something else. Not conquest anymore, not victory, just survival. Endless survival against an enemy that will not break, and a winter that will not end, and a future that grows darker every day. Lehmann is 58 years old. He looks 70. His face has gone gray. His hands shake sometimes, though he hides them in pockets or under desks. His kidneys are failing. The doctors give him injections that cost more than he makes in a week. He pays anyway. Pain is distraction. Distraction is death. The woman who was his controller is gone, replaced by a man who calls himself Weber. Weber is young, efficient, cold as a fish. He meets Lehmann in train stations, in parks, in the ruins of buildings that no longer exist. He takes the information and disappears. He never asks about Lehmann's health, his safety, his life. He is a machine for moving secrets. Lehmann respects that. The information flow has slowed. Not because Lehmann has less access. Because Moscow has changed. The Soviets are fighting for their lives. Stalingrad is bleeding. Leningrad is starving. The information Lehmann sends arrives in a city under siege, read by men who have not slept in days, filed by women who have not eaten in weeks. He knows this. Weber tells him. Weber tells him because it matters that Lehmann knows what his work costs and what it supports. In February, Lehmann attends a meeting that changes something inside him. The meeting is about the Eastern Front, about partisans, about what to do with villages that support them. The officer leading the meeting is young, handsome, enthusiastic. He explains the new policy with the passion of a man describing a favorite hobby. Every village that shelters partisans will be burned. Every man in the village will be shot. Every woman and child will be sent to camps where they will work until they die. Lehmann takes notes. His hand does not shake. His face does not change. Inside, something is screaming, not the frozen thing, something else, something that remembers Margaret, remembers the boy on the hook, remembers the mother with folded hands. That something screams and no one hears. He gives the notes to Weber that night. Weber reads them, nods, folds them into his pocket. He says Moscow will use this. He says the information will be broadcast to partisans, to the world, to anyone who will listen. He says it matters that people know what is being done in their name. Lehmann walks home through streets filled with rubble. The bombing is constant now, day and night. The Americans and British take turns pounding the city into smaller and smaller pieces. Lehmann steps over bricks, around craters, past bodies covered with blankets. No one looks at the bodies anymore. Everyone has bodies in their lives. Everyone has someone under a blanket somewhere. In March, he makes a mistake. It is small, stupid. The kind of mistake he would have caught 10 years ago without thinking. He leaves a file on his desk overnight. Not a secret file, not an important file, just a file. But in the morning, Klausenberg is standing at his desk when he arrives. Klausenberg holds the file in his pale hands. His empty eyes study Lehmann's face. Klausenberg asks why the file was left out. Lehmann explains. He was tired. He was sick. He forgot. A simple mistake. It will not happen again. Klausenberg listens. His face shows nothing. He hands the file back. He says everyone makes mistakes. He says the important thing is learning from them. Lehmann feels the cold thing in his chest grow larger. Klausenberg knows. Not for certain. Not enough to act. But he knows something. He has always known something. He has been watching for 5 years, waiting for a moment like this, a crack, a flaw, a reason to look deeper. That night, Lehmann goes through his apartment. Every hiding place, every document, every trace of his other life. He burns what he can burn. He rewrites what he must keep in codes only he understands. He hides the rest in new places, better places, places even he will have trouble finding. He works until dawn. When the sun rises over the ruined city, he sits at his kitchen table and puts his head in his hands. He does not cry. He cannot cry. But something close to crying moves through him and passes. In April, Weber brings news. Stalingrad. The Sixth Army is surrounded. 200,000 German soldiers trapped in the snow, starving, freezing, waiting for relief that will never come. Weber's face shows nothing, but his voice is different. Lighter, almost human. He tells Lehmann that Moscow knows who sent the information that helped prepare the defense. Not Lehmann alone, others too. But Lehmann's information about troop movements, about supply lines, about the weaknesses in German logistics, arrived in time to matter. Men are alive because of him. Soviet men, Russian men, men with wives and children and futures. Lehmann listens and feels nothing. The men he saved are strangers. The men he helped kill were strangers too. He has spent 13 years moving information from one place to another, and he no longer knows what any of it means. In May, the air raids get worse. One night, a bomb hits the building next to his. The explosion throws him out of bed. Glass cuts his face. He lies on the floor in the dark, bleeding, listening to screams from the street. When he finally stands and looks out the window, he sees that the building next door is gone. Just a hole. Just dust. Just people running with buckets and blankets and desperate hope. He thinks about how close it was. How easily that could have been his building, his body, his turn under the blanket. He thinks about all the years of surviving, of hiding, of pretending, and how none of it matters if a bomb with his name on it falls from the sky. In June, Klausenberg is promoted. He leaves the department for a job in the SD, the security service, the eyes and ears of the SS. On his last day, he shakes Lehmann's hand. He holds it a moment too long. He looks into Lehmann's eyes with those pale, empty windows and smiles. Not a friendly smile. A smile that says, "I will see you again." Lehmann watches him go and knows that Klausenberg will be back. Not tomorrow, not next month, but someday. When Lehmann least expects it. When the crack becomes a chasm. Klausenberg will be there. In July, Weber tells him that the partisans have used his information. Villages were evacuated before the death squads arrived. Families escaped into the forests. Men lived who would have died. Weber says this like it is good news, like it should make Lehmann feel something. Lehmann feels nothing. The frozen thing has grown so large it has swallowed his heart, his lungs, his ability to care. He does his job. He passes information. He survives. That is all. In August, he turns 59. No one notices. No one knows. He does not celebrate. He works a full day, eats a cold meal alone, and goes to bed. In his dreams, Margaret is alive. She is young. She is laughing. She is reaching for him. He wakes in the dark with his face wet and does not know if it is tears or sweat or just the damp from the leaking ceiling. In September, the bombs fall on a new target, the Gestapo headquarters. Lehmann is in the building when it happens. The explosion throws him against a wall. He wakes in rubble, in darkness, in silence that slowly fills with screams. He pushes bricks off his legs. He crawls toward light. He emerges into a street that no longer exists. Men he worked with for years are dead, buried under stone, burning in fires that will burn for days. Lehmann stands among the ruins and watches them die and feels nothing. Not relief, not sadness. Nothing. He walks home through streets filled with smoke and sirens and running figures. He reaches his apartment. It is still standing. He sits in the dark and waits for morning. In October, Weber tells him that Moscow wants to know about Peenemünde, about the rockets, about the V2 program that Hitler believes will win the war. Lehmann gives him everything: the launch sites, the production figures, the technical problems that the scientists cannot solve. He gives it all without emotion, without hesitation, without thought. After Weber leaves, Lehmann sits alone in the ruined building where they met and thinks about the rockets. They will kill people: English people, French people, Belgian people, civilians in cities that have nothing to do with the war. His information will help stop them, or will help build better ones. He no longer knows which side he is on. He no longer knows if there are sides. In November, the news comes. Stalingrad is lost. The Sixth Army surrendered. 90,000 German soldiers march into captivity. Berlin goes quiet. No parades. No speeches. Just silence and fear and the growing knowledge that the war is lost. Lehmann hears the news at work. His colleagues sit at their desks staring at nothing. Some of them cry. Some of them curse. Some of them just sit, empty, finished. Lehmann watches them and feels nothing. He has known the war was lost for years. He has known since the first winter in Russia. He has known since the bombs started falling on Berlin. He has known, and he has kept working, and he has kept surviving, and he has kept passing information to people who will one day stand among the ruins of this city and call it victory. In December, the coldest winter of the war, Lehmann's apartment has no heat. The coal is gone. The windows are broken. He sleeps in his coat, in his gloves, in everything he owns. He wakes each morning stiff and cold and surprised to be alive. On Christmas Eve, he walks to the cemetery where Margaret is buried. The grave is hard to find under the snow. He stands there for a long time, shivering, remembering. He talks to her in his mind. He tells her about the war, about the bombs, about the frozen thing inside him that will not thaw. He tells her he is tired. He tells her he wants to stop. He tells her he does not know how. He walks home through the empty streets. No lights, no people. Just snow and ruins and the distant sound of bombers heading east. The year is 1942. The war is half over. Willi Lehmann is 59 years old. He has served Moscow for 13 years. He has lost his wife, his health, his ability to feel. He has only one thing left: survival. The cold animal instinct to keep breathing, keep moving, keep pretending. The wolves are still out there. Klausenberg is waiting somewhere in the dark. The bombs fall every night. And Lehmann walks through it all invisible, unnoticed, a ghost in his own life, waiting for the end that must come someday. He does not know when. He does not know how. He only knows that he will be there when it happens, doing his job, passing information, surviving, because that is all he has left. The year is 1943. The tide has turned. Stalingrad is a wound that will not heal. Kursk is coming. The Americans have landed in Africa. The bombers come every night and sometimes during the day. Berlin is a city of ruins of rubble, of people who move like ghosts through streets that used to be neighborhoods. Lehmann is 60 years old. He moves slower now. His kidneys are worse. The doctors give him morphine for the pain. He takes it because he must. The pain is distraction. Distraction is death. But the morphine clouds his mind, makes him slow, makes him human when he needs to be machine. He knows this is dangerous. He cannot stop. His new controller is a woman again, young, fierce. She has survived Leningrad, survived the siege, survived things Lehmann does not ask about. Her name is Katya, not her real name. No one uses real names. She meets him in the ruins of the Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church. The spire is still standing, a broken finger pointing at heaven. The rest is rubble. They sit among the broken stones like two people resting from the bombing. Katya brings news. Moscow is pleased. The information about Peenemünde has reached the British. The RAF is planning a raid. They will bomb the rocket facility. They will slow the program. They will save lives. Katya says this with something like pride. Lehmann listens and feels nothing. The frozen thing has been inside him so long, he forgets it is there. He gives her new information. The V-2 is not the only wonder weapon. There is the V-1, the flying bomb. There are jet fighters. There are new submarines that can stay underwater for weeks. There are chemical weapons that the army is afraid to use but refuses to abandon. He gives her everything, names, dates, numbers, locations. She writes it down in a code only she understands. Her handwriting is neat, precise, the handwriting of someone who has been trained to survive. When she finishes, she looks at him for a long moment. She asks how he is, not about the information, about him. He does not know how to answer. No one has asked him that in years. He says he is fine. She looks at him like she does not believe him. She does not push. She stands and walks away into the ruins, and he is alone again. In February, Goebbels gives the Sportpalast speech. Total war. Lehmann hears it on the radio at work. The crowd screams. They want total war. They want victory or annihilation. They want what Goebbels is selling. Lehmann listens and thinks about what total war means. It means no more civilians, no more safe zones, no more limits. Everyone is a target. Everything is a weapon. He goes home that night and looks at Margaret's coat hanging by the door. It has hung there for 4 years. He has never moved it. He touches the sleeve. The fabric is soft, worn, familiar. He leaves it where it is. In March, the RAF bombs Peenemünde. Lehmann reads the report in the files. Hundreds of bombers, thousands of bombs. The facility is damaged. Scientists are dead. The rocket program is set back months. His colleagues curse the British, curse the traitors who must have warned them, curse the fate that has turned against Germany. Lehmann sits at his desk and reads the report and feels something. Not pride, not satisfaction. Just a small warmth in the frozen thing. A tiny crack. He has done something. He has mattered. The information he risked his life to send has changed something in the world. He meets Katya that night in a bomb shelter during an air raid. The shelter is crowded, noisy, filled with crying children and frightened old people. They sit close together like strangers seeking comfort. She whispers that Moscow knows about Peenemünde. Moscow knows what he did. Moscow is grateful. Lehmann says nothing. Grateful is a word. Words are wind. He has been doing this for 14 years. Grateful does not keep you alive. Grateful does not pay for doctors or medicine, or the morphine that lets you sleep at night. The bombs fall, the shelter shakes, dust falls from the ceiling. A child screams. Its mother hushes it. Lehmann sits in the dark and waits for the all-clear and thinks about nothing at all. In April, Klausenberg returns. Lehmann sees him in a corridor at headquarters. Klausenberg is older now, harder, his empty eyes deeper in their sockets. He wears the uniform of an SS Sturmbannführer. Major. He has power. He has authority. He has the memory of a file left on a desk 5 years ago. Klausenberg nods at Lehmann. A small nod. A polite nod. The nod of a man who remembers everything. He walks past without speaking. Lehmann feels the cold thing in his chest grow larger. Klausenberg is back. Klausenberg is watching. Klausenberg has always been watching. That night, Lehmann goes through his apartment again. Every hiding place. Every document. Every trace. He burns what he can burn. He rewrites what he must keep. He finds a new place for the things that matter, a place so clever, so hidden, that even he will have trouble finding it. He works until dawn. His kidneys scream. His hands shake. He takes morphine and keeps working. When the sun rises, he sits at the kitchen table and puts his head in his hands and wonders how much longer he can do this. In May, the news comes about the Warsaw Ghetto. Uprising. Resistance. The Jews are fighting back. The SS is burning the ghetto building by building. Lehmann reads the reports. They are detailed, clinical. They describe how many Jews have been killed, how many buildings destroyed, how long it will take to finish the job. He gives the reports to Katya. She reads them in silence. Her face shows nothing. But when she looks up, her eyes are different. Harder. Colder. She says Moscow will use this. She says the world will know. She says the people who did this will not escape. Lehmann walks home through streets filled with rubble and thinks about the Jews in Warsaw. He thinks about the boy on the hook, the mother with folded hands, the villages in Russia, the prisoners in Gleiwitz. He thinks about all the bodies he has never seen and all the deaths he has helped to record and all the information that flows through his hands like water through a sieve. He thinks about Klausenberg's eyes, about Hauser's fish eyes, about all the men who watch and wait and remember. In June, the Americans bomb Berlin during the day. Lehmann is caught in the open. He throws himself into a doorway as the bombs fall. The street behind him disappears. When he looks up, the building where he was standing is gone. Just rubble, just dust, just bodies that used to be people. He stands and walks on. He does not look back. Looking back is how people die. In July, Kursk, the largest tank battle in history. Lehmann reads the reports as they come in. Thousands of tanks, hundreds of thousands of men. The Germans attack, the Soviets hold, the Germans attack again, the Soviets hold again. By the end of the month, it is over. The Germans have lost. They will never attack again. From now on, they only retreat. Lehmann gives the reports to Katya. She takes them with something like hunger. Moscow needs to know everything. Every division. Every tank. Every general. The information will be used. The war will be won. Lehmann does not care about winning anymore. He cares about surviving. He cares about the morphine that keeps the pain away. He cares about Klausenberg's eyes and what they remember. In August, Hamburg burns. The British and Americans firebomb the city. The fire creates a storm, a hurricane of flame, temperatures so high that people melt in the streets. Lehmann reads the reports. 100,000 dead. Most of them civilians. Most of them women and children. The city is gone. Just ashes. Just memory. He thinks about Berlin. About what will happen when the bombers come for real. about whether he will melt like the people in Hamburg or die some other way. He does not know which he prefers. In September, Italy surrenders. The Axis cracks. Germany is alone. Lehmann's colleagues talk about wonder weapons, about secret weapons, about miracles that will save them. Lehmann says nothing. He has seen the files. There are no miracles. There is only death, coming closer every day. In October, Katya tells him the news. The Soviets have recaptured Kiev. The Ukraine is falling. The Germans are retreating everywhere. She says this with satisfaction, with something like joy. Lehmann listens and feels nothing. He has been doing this too long to feel anything. She gives him new instructions. Moscow wants names. Names of everyone who has committed war crimes. Names of everyone who has given orders. Names of everyone who will need to be found when this is over. Lehmann nods. He has been keeping lists for years. He knows who they are. He knows what they have done. In November, Klausenberg transfers to a new department. Counterintelligence. The department that finds spies. The department that would find Lehmann if anyone ever looked in the right place. Klausenberg shakes Lehmann's hand on his last day in the old building. He holds it a moment too long. He looks into Lehmann's eyes with those pale, empty windows. He says he hopes to see Lehmann again. He says they will work together someday. He says Lehmann should be careful. There are enemies everywhere, even in the Gestapo, even among old friends. Lehmann thanks him. He says he is always careful. He says he looks forward to working together. He says goodbye. He watches Klausenberg walk away and knows that the clock is ticking. Klausenberg will find him. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday, when the thread leads to his door. In December, the coldest winter of the war. Lehmann's apartment has no heat. The windows are boarded. He sleeps in his coat, in his gloves, in everything he owns. He wakes each morning stiff and cold and surprised to be alive. On Christmas Eve, he walks to the cemetery. Margaret's grave is buried under snow. He stands there for a long time, shivering, remembering. He talks to her in his mind. He tells her about Klausenberg, about the thread, about the end that is coming. He tells her he is tired. He tells her he wants to stop. He tells her he does not know how. He walks home through the empty streets. No lights, no people. Just snow and ruins, and the distant sound of bombers heading east. The year is 1943. The war is nearly over. Willi Lehmann is 60 years old. He has served Moscow for 14 years. He has lost everything except survival. And somewhere in the darkness, Klausenberg is watching, waiting, following a thread that leads closer every day. The year is 1942, December. The date is written in Lehmann's calendar, though he does not know it is his last. Berlin is freezing, the coldest December in memory. Snow covers the ruins, softens the edges of broken buildings, hides the bodies that no one has collected. Lehmann walks to work through streets that look almost peaceful under the white. Almost beautiful. Almost like the city he knew before the war. He is 60 years old. He moves slowly now. His kidneys are failing. The morphine helps, but it also clouds his mind, makes him forgetful, makes him human. He cannot afford to be human. Not now. Not when the end is so close. The end. He feels it coming. Not just the end of the war, though that is coming too. The Russians are advancing. The Americans are in Italy. The bombers come every night. The end of the war is certain. But Lehmann feels another end. A personal end. The end of the road he started walking 14 years ago in a bar with an envelope full of money. Klausenberg has been transferred back to Berlin. Lehmann heard it through whispers, through the grapevine that connects everyone in the security services. Klausenberg is now in counterintelligence. Klausenberg is now looking for spies. Klausenberg is now following threads that have been waiting for years. On December 10th, Lehmann meets Katja one last time. The meeting place is a ruined factory near the Spree. The roof is gone. Snow falls on them while they talk. Katja is different today. Tense, nervous. She tells him that Moscow is worried. There have been arrests in other networks. The Gestapo is getting closer to something. She tells him to be careful, more careful than ever before. Lehmann gives her the last information he will ever give. Names of SS officers involved in mass executions, locations of secret weapons facilities, production figures for the V2. He gives her everything he has collected in the past month. She takes it, folds it into her coat, and looks at him for a long moment. She asks if he wants to come with her, to leave Berlin, to go east where he would be safe, honored, treated as the hero he is. Lehmann shakes his head. He is too old, too sick, too tired. And there is Margaret's coat still hanging by the door. He cannot leave it. He cannot leave her. He tells Katja to go. She hesitates. Then she turns and walks away into the snow. He watches her disappear into the ruins and knows he will never see her again. On December 12th, Lehmann goes to work as usual. The building is cold. The heating has failed again. He sits at his desk and reads files and tries to ignore the pain in his kidneys. His colleagues are quiet, tense, frightened. Everyone knows the war is lost. Everyone is thinking about what comes next. At noon, a messenger arrives. Lehmann is summoned to an office on the 3rd floor. The office of a man he does not know. The messenger does not say why. Lehmann walks up the stairs slowly, one hand on the railing, feeling each step in his bones. The office is large, well-furnished, warm. A fire burns in the fireplace. Behind the desk sits a man Lehmann has never seen. He is older, distinguished, with gray hair and intelligent eyes. He introduces himself as Oberfuhrer Panzinger, a high rank, a very high rank. Panzinger asks Lehmann to sit. He offers him coffee. Lehmann accepts. His hands are steady. His face is calm. Inside, something is screaming. Panzinger makes small talk. The weather, the bombing, the difficulty of keeping the department running under these conditions. Lehmann answers politely, professionally, the way he has answered for 14 years. Panzinger listens. His eyes miss nothing. Then Panzinger asks about Lehmann's work, his health, his wife, his life outside the office. Lehmann answers, his wife is dead, his health is poor, his life is work. Panzinger nods. He seems sympathetic. He seems kind. He asks about Lehmann's finances, about the extra money that has been appearing in his accounts for years, about the doctors who accept payment in cash, about the morphine that costs more than a working man can afford. Lehmann feels the room grow cold. The fire is still burning. The room is warm, but Lehmann is cold, colder than he has ever been. He explains. Savings, careful budgeting, help from his wife's family before she died. He tells the story he has prepared for 14 years. Panzinger listens. He nods. He seems to accept the explanation. Then he opens a drawer and removes a file. The file is thin, but Lehmann can see his name on it. His real name. And other names. Names of controllers. Names of dead drops. Names of meetings in cinemas and churches and cemeteries. Panzinger does not open the file. He simply places it on the desk between them. He looks at Lehmann with those intelligent eyes. He says nothing. Lehmann says nothing. The silence stretches. The fire crackles. Somewhere in the building, a door slams. Panzinger thanks Lehmann for coming. He says the meeting is over. He says someone will be in touch. Lehmann stands. He walks to the door. He does not look back. He walks down the stairs slowly, one hand on the railing, feeling each step in his bones. His colleagues are still at their desks. The messenger is still in the corridor. Everything is normal. Everything is the same. Lehmann knows nothing will ever be the same. He goes back to his desk. He works through the afternoon. He reads files. He makes notes. He is the most boring man in the Gestapo, doing his boring job, waiting for the knock that must come. It does not come that day. He goes home at his usual time. He walks through the snow, past the ruins, past the bodies covered with blankets, past the people who do not look at him. He reaches his apartment. Margaret's coat still hangs by the door. He touches the sleeve. The fabric is soft, worn, familiar. He sits at the kitchen table. He does not eat. He does not sleep. He sits in the dark and waits. December 13th. He goes to work. Everything is normal. His colleagues nod at him. The files are on his desk. The coffee is cold. He works through the morning. At noon, no messenger comes. At evening, he goes home. He sits in the dark and waits. December 14th, the same. December 15th, the same. He begins to hope. Perhaps the file is old. Perhaps the evidence is thin. Perhaps Panzinger was testing him, and he passed. Perhaps he will survive after all. On December 16th, he goes to work. The building is different today. Quiet. Tense. Men in uniforms he does not recognize stand in corridors. They watch him pass. Their eyes follow him. He reaches his desk. His hands are steady. His face is calm. Inside, the screaming has stopped. There is only silence. The frozen thing has finally swallowed everything. At 10 in the morning, the messenger comes. Lehmann is summoned to the same office on the 3rd floor. He walks up the stairs slowly. Each step is an effort. Each step takes him closer to something he has been running from for 14 years. The office is the same. The fire is burning. Panzinger is behind the desk. But today there is someone else in the room. A man in the corner, standing in shadows. Lehmann does not need to see his face to know who it is. Klausenberg steps forward. His pale eyes are empty. His smile is thin. He nods at Lehmann like an old friend. Panzinger speaks. He says the investigation is complete. He says the evidence is conclusive. He says Willi Lehmann, Obersturmführer of the Gestapo, party member since 1933, has been working for the Soviet Union since 1929. He says the sentence is death. Lehmann listens. His face shows nothing. His hands do not shake. He has imagined this moment for 14 years. He has rehearsed it in his mind 1,000 times. Now that it is here, he feels nothing. Just the cold. Just the silence. Just the frozen thing that has been growing inside him since the day he took the first envelope. Klausenberg steps forward. He has questions. Many questions. He wants to know everything. Every name, every meeting, every piece of information Lehmann has sent east. He speaks softly, reasonably, like a man asking for directions. Lehmann says nothing. Klausenberg asks again. His voice is still soft, still reasonable, but something moves behind his eyes. Something hungry. Lehmann says nothing. Panzinger sighs. He nods at Klausenberg. Klausenberg steps forward and takes Lehmann's arm. His grip is firm, professional. He leads Lehmann out of the office, down the stairs, through corridors filled with men who look away. They take him to a basement. The basement of Gestapo headquarters. The same basement where prisoners were brought for intensive questioning. The same basement where Lehmann heard screams through his office window for years. The cell is small, cold, damp. There is a chair, a table, a single light bulb that never goes out. They leave him there. Hours pass, or days. Lehmann cannot tell. The light is always on. The cold is always there. His kidneys scream. He has no morphine. The pain is beyond anything he has known. He welcomes it. Pain is feeling. Feeling is proof that he is still alive. Klausenberg comes. He asks questions. Lehmann says nothing. Klausenberg leaves. He comes back. He asks again. Lehmann says nothing. The pattern repeats. Lehmann loses track of how many times. They do not torture him. Not physically. There is no need. The pain from his kidneys is torture enough. They simply wait. They know he will break eventually. Everyone breaks eventually. But Lehmann does not break. Not because he is strong, because he is empty. The frozen thing has swallowed everything. There is nothing left to break. On the third day, or the fifth, or the seventh, Klausenberg comes with news. The investigation is complete. The file is closed. Lehmann's controllers have been identified. Some have been arrested. Some have escaped. The network is destroyed. Lehmann listens. He wonders if Katya got out. He hopes she did. She was young. She had a future. He had no future. He has not had a future since 1929. Klausenberg asks one last time. Names, dates, anything. Lehmann says nothing. Klausenberg nods. He understands. He leaves. That night, or what passes for night in the basement, two men come to Lehmann's cell. They are not Klausenberg. They are not Panzinger. They are young, strong, anonymous. They wear the uniforms of the SS. Their faces show nothing. They tell Lehmann to stand. He cannot stand. His legs will not work. They lift him. They half carry him out of the cell, down a corridor, upstairs, into the cold December air. It is night. The sky is clear. Stars are visible between the searchlights. Snow covers the ground. The air is so cold it burns. They take him to a courtyard. The same courtyard he could see from his office window. The same courtyard where prisoners were brought for intensive questioning. The same courtyard where men screamed while Lehmann read files and pretended not to hear. They stand him against a wall. The wall is brick. It is cold. Lehmann leans against it because he cannot stand on his own. The two men step back. They raise their pistols. Their faces show nothing. They are professionals. They are doing a job. Lehmann looks up at the sky. The stars are bright. He thinks of Margaret. He thinks of the boy on the hook. He thinks of the mother with folded hands. He thinks of 14 years of information, of risk, of pretending to be someone he was not. He wonders if any of it mattered. He will never know. The guns fire. The year is 1942. December. Willi Lehmann is dead. In Moscow, a file is marked with a single word. Starshina. Contact lost. Presumed dead. The file is closed. It will sit in archives for decades, waiting for someone to remember. In Berlin, the war continues. The bombs keep falling. The Russians keep advancing. The Nazis keep killing. None of it matters to Lehmann anymore. He is against a wall in the snow under the stars, finally at peace. His body is buried somewhere, no one knows where, no marker, no grave, no one to visit. He disappears the way he lived. Invisible, unnoticed, a ghost. But the information he sent lives on. It helped win a war. It saved lives he would never see. It changed the world in ways he would never know. Willi Lehmann, Obersturmführer of the Gestapo, party member, loyal Nazi, died a traitor to everything he pretended to serve. He died alone, in the cold, against a wall. He died without confession, without regret, without breaking. He died the way he lived, invisible, unnoticed, a ghost. But some ghosts change the world.